Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Let it be as you, not I, would have it. Ellie! Ellie! Lama sabachthani.
Tonight was a very interesting night. Pastor Lott, the elder pastor, who is actually getting ready to sit down and live the rest of his time on earth, not as a primary pastor, but he has a young pastor that he has been training for years. And I met him tonight, and so he invited me by so that I can meet him, with hoping that I may be able to serve with him and up under him. And this was a very complicated meeting for me, because I humbly had to say no to a man who I love dearly, who has very good intentions and had very good confidence in my ability. But I had to say no, because I have to remain free and not tied down inside of a institution that I am spiritually against, unless it decides to grow further from the common religious propaganda. But we were talking about what I've mentioned on my previous video in terms of bringing the gospel down to a common ground, to where people can be able to understand Yeshua's message, and to the degree to where you make it plain enough where you can actually relate to what is called the good news, and it will make you understand why Yeshua had told all of us to go and sin no more, to where you're able to tap into that area inside of yourself of where the kingdom of heaven resides, to where you will tap into the power to where you will be able to end your suffering and therefore your self-destruction. That was primarily our conversation tonight. Now, earlier, someone who I declined to mention his name, but I will go over this. There was a video about Christmas that I had uploaded not too long ago. Was actually, I uploaded it years ago, of a YouTuber who used to go by the name of Black Indigo. She no longer is on YouTube anymore, and I talked to her a couple of months ago, and I was trying to encourage her to go ahead and make more YouTube videos, but she says she's someone else right now. And so there's one thing that I don't challenge anyone is where they are in the process of evolution. So I wish her well. However, there was a YouTuber that had said that this is blasphemy, and he was referring to when she had said that Joseph and Mary had came together and they created Yeshua. But what he fails to realize is the scriptures that are put before this. It's plain when it says he was the seed of David according to the flesh. Okay, now people say, well, Joseph was of the seed of David, which implies that Joseph was Jew. However, later on, Yeshua declared himself the Son of God according to the Spirit of holiness. And this person who commented on the video, I hear a lot of people saying that Jesus or Yeshua was in fact God. And I would ask, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, or I'll even go further back, it says that Yeshua was led to the desert to be tempted of Satan. He was led there. By who? The Creator led him there. Why? Does the Creator have a problem with temptation, with your spirit? Or do the human being have a problem with being tempted of lust, material things upon the earth? Now, if Yeshua was in fact God, then why would he have had to be tempted by God? It even says in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he was struggling to learn of what fear was, he said, Father, if it is possible, can you pass this cup from me? Who was he talking to? Himself? He was talking to the Father, who is the Creator. Before then, when he was threatened by the Jews and the scribes and the Pharisees, and he said, these temples, God will destroy all of these temples, and in 3 days I would make those temples rise again. And one of them said, so you're saying that you would destroy all of these temples and you would erect them in 3 days? Yeshua had said, I'm just paraphrasing. He said it, but you have not understood. He said, I said it, but you have not understood. He said, destroy this temple and I would make it rise in 3 days. The question is, was that Yeshua speaking, or was that the Creator, which is God, speaking through Yeshua in terms of him rising Yeshua from the dead after 3 days? In terms of the resurrection, did Jesus resurrect himself from the dead, or did God resurrect Jesus from the dead? When Jesus says, anything the Father tells me to do, I do. So, anything who tell you to do, you do? Was he speaking of himself? Anything I say, I do. I mean, this is not making any sense. When Yeshua was on the cross, he, once the Creator had removed its presence from him, Yeshua yelled out in terror first. He said, my God. And then he asked the Creator, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And therefore, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why hast thou removed yourself from me? Yeshua was not God in person. And I don't understand how people can't understand this when it's right there in the book. When Yeshua had mentioned plenty times, he said, I can do nothing except what the Father allows me to do. We're talking about two living life forces in cooperation. This is what we're talking about. And when he said, I and my Father are one, he was not saying that he was God. He was saying that he was in 100% submission to the will of God. Whatever the Father tells me to do, I do. Whatever the Father tells me to do, there's a vacuum which doesn't contain knowledge of someone thinking and deciding to do what God does. He just does it. There's no questioning. Whatever the Father tells me to do, I do. It's that simple. The problem is, a lot of people go to these churches and you are up under a lot of pastors who, instead of speaking what he said based upon breaking it down and making it factual in terms of proper perception, you turn it into a propaganda campaign. It's so easy to say, well, Jesus was God, and all it is, and blah, 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 blah. It's easy to call yourself rebuttaling something based upon something you hear all the time. It's just a common platitude. Jesus was God. No, Jesus was not God. And he was not God in person. He was the Son of God. If he was God, he would have never had to be tempted by the principle and entity of temptation. If he was God, he would not have had to learn of what fear was in order to overcome it, so that he may be able to move forward from the Garden of Gethsemane. When the Romans came, he didn't run because he had already conquered fear. And when Peter tried to prevent the centurions of taking him away to be crucified, he told Peter, no, Peter, because he told Peter that same night before the Romans got there, that Peter's concern of protecting him from the Romans, he said, the devil is speaking through you. And why did he say that? He said because Peter was interfering in prophecy. He was interfering in Yeshua's moving forward to fulfill the prophecy of being crucified for mankind. It's simple. It's simple. I mean, even after his physical death, or even before his physical death, he said, I will be sitting on the right hand of the Father. I'm still hearing two life forces here. Obey the Father. He never said, obey me. He said, follow me. Follow my example in terms of understanding what it means to be a human being, a member of humanity. It's really simple, but common religious doctrine makes it more complicated than it actually is. And the whole issue, when he said, therefore be ye therefore perfect, as your Father in heaven is also perfect, he's telling you that not only he is the Son of God, so are you. You have that ability to be as the Father. As the Father, who is perfect, as your Father in heaven is also. He included you in the Father's perfection in terms of your ability to perfect yourself. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, forgive your sins, and heal the land. It's simple. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I just wanted to address my previous video, as well as the comment that was on the Christmas video that I uploaded years ago. And if the YouTuber, as I said, I'm not going to mention your name because I don't believe in exploiting people. But if the YouTuber would like to collaborate, or if you want to make any more comments, that's fine. You know, I don't have a problem with that, because as I said before, I don't argue back and forth like a whole lot of people I've come in contact with. They love it. You know, all of this so-called religious, intellectual based vanity. Some people love going back and forth, you know, and it's just vanity. That's really all it is. It's really, you know, we spend all this time arguing back and forth about some written word. I'm willing to allow whoever I'm dealing with, let's get into the spirit and communicate, you know, and just make it just as simple as he made it, because it was the religious scholars that has complicated everything. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna cut this short, and I most likely will address this again. Most likely, I don't know, probably tomorrow night. But if there's anything that was said or misunderstood, you know, you're open to even comment on this video. I don't, you know, like I said, I'm not exempt from being corrected. I mean, that's the only way you're gonna learn, you know. But if you come at me respectfully, and not the way you came at the video in terms of the comments. There's a better way to express yourself other than coming across like you're trying to attack someone or trying to condemn someone, because it only reveals that you're still religious and you haven't become spiritual yet. You know, and that's just a fact. For you know the righteous, for they walk the earth in humility. With that being said, everyone have a good night and stay human. Peace.